Discipline is one of the hardest things to build, but it's also one of the most powerful. It's what helps you stick to your goals, even when motivation fades or things get tough. Imagine being the kind of person who shows up every single day, no matter how you feel, and who gets things done because you've trained yourself to do what needs to be done. That's what discipline can give you, a life where you're in control, where you're creating the future you want, step by step. But let's face it, building discipline isn't easy. We all struggle with distractions, procrastination, and self-doubt. It's normal to feel like giving up, or to think you're just not the disciplined type. But here's the good news: discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you can build. And today I'm going to walk you through how to do it. We're going to talk about what discipline really is, why it's so important, and how you can start developing it in a way that actually works for you. This isn't about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about learning how to keep going, even when it's hard. It's about creating habits that align with your goals and becoming the kind of person who can trust themselves to follow through. So, if you're ready to take control of your life, stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll have the tools and mindset to start building discipline and making real progress toward the things you care about most. Let's get started. Number 1, self-awareness. Success, fulfillment, happiness, all those things we desire start with one essential step: understanding yourself. That's what we call self-awareness. And trust me, it's not just a fancy word, it's the foundation of discipline. The first step to creating the life you want. Now, let me ask you something: how well do you know yourself? Not just your name, your job, or your favorite hobbies. I mean, how well do you understand what makes you tick? What gets you excited? What holds you back? What patterns do you keep repeating? These questions aren't just fluff, they're the gateway to unlocking your full potential. The first rule of self-awareness is simple: be honest with yourself. You see, most people aren't. It's hard to look in the mirror and admit your flaws. It's uncomfortable to recognize your weaknesses. But if you don't face the truth, how can you fix it? If you're always running from your own reflection, how will you ever grow? Self-awareness is about turning that mirror inward, no matter how difficult it feels. Now, don't get me wrong, self-awareness isn't about beating yourself up. It's not about saying, oh, I'm bad at this, or I'll never be good at that. No, self-awareness is about understanding where you are right now so you can decide where you want to go. It's about taking inventory. Think of it like this: if you're lost in a forest, you first need to figure out where you are before you can find your way out. That's what self-awareness does. It gives you clarity. Here's something I want you to remember: the biggest breakthroughs in life happen when you stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility. It's easy to point fingers, isn't it? My boss doesn't understand me. I don't have the time. I'm just not lucky enough. But the truth is, none of that will help you. Real change starts when you say, this is on me. That's the power of self-awareness. It puts you back in the driver's seat. So how do you develop it? Let's get practical. One way is to spend time alone with your thoughts. Not scrolling through your phone, not distracting yourself with TV, just sitting quietly and reflecting. Ask yourself questions like, what do I really want? And why do I keep avoiding certain tasks? You might be surprised by the answers. Another powerful tool is journaling. You don't have to be a great writer, you just need to be honest. Write about your wins, your struggles, your fears. There's something magical about putting your thoughts on paper. It's like shining a flashlight into the dark corners of your mind. Suddenly, things that felt confusing start to make sense. Let me share something personal. When I started my journey, I had a mentor who said to me, Jim, if you want to change your life, you need to know your patterns at first. I didn't understand what he meant. But over time, I realized he was talking about self-awareness. I started noticing the little things I was doing or not doing that were holding me back. And when I became aware of them, I could start changing them. Now, here's where the magic really happens. Self-awareness helps you identify your strengths too. You see, it's not just about fixing what's wrong. It's about recognizing what's right. What are you naturally good at? What activities make you lose track of time because you love them so much? Lean into those things. They're your gifts, and when you use them, you build confidence. And confidence fuels discipline. But let's be real, it's not always easy to face yourself. Sometimes self-awareness can be a little painful. You might discover habits you're not proud of or dreams you've been neglecting. And that's okay. Growth isn't always comfortable, but it's always worth it. Think of it like going to the gym. When you first start lifting weights, your muscles feel sore, but over time they grow stronger. That's what self-awareness does for your mind and your character. Another important aspect of self-awareness is understanding your triggers. What makes you procrastinate? What causes you to lose focus? Maybe it's scrolling through social media, or maybe it's overcommitting to things that don't really matter. Once you know your triggers, you can start to manage them. You can create an environment that supports your discipline instead of sabotaging it. Let me tell you, self-awareness isn't something you develop overnight. It's a lifelong process. You'll keep discovering new things about yourself as you grow and face new challenges. But every bit of self-awareness you gain is like adding another tool to your toolbox. And the more tools you have, the better equipped you are to build the life you want. Here's one final thought to leave you with: self-awareness isn't just about you. When you understand yourself better, you understand others better too. You become more empathetic, more patient, more connected. And that's what life is really about, isn't it? Building connections, lifting each other up, and making the world a little better because you were here. So start today. Take that first step. Spend some time reflecting on who you are and who you want to be. Write it down, think it through, and don't be afraid of what you find. Because self-awareness is the key that unlocks the door to discipline. And discipline is what takes you anywhere you want to go. Number 2, start small. This is where most people miss the mark. They set these huge, overwhelming goals right from the start and then wonder why they feel stuck or give up halfway through. But let me tell you, the secret to discipline isn't in trying to do it all at once. It's about starting small, taking those manageable steps, and building momentum. You see, too many people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, or the perfect plan to take action. But let me ask you this: has perfection ever knocked on your door? Has it ever shown up and said, "All right, today's the day"? Of course not. And that's why you need to start where you are, with what you have, even if it feels small. Let's imagine you want to get in shape. You've got this big vision of running a marathon or hitting the gym 5 days a week. That's a fantastic goal, but if you're someone who hasn't worked out in years, jumping straight to that is like trying to climb a mountain without first learning how to walk on flat ground. Instead of overwhelming yourself, start with something small. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk around your neighborhood. Maybe it's doing 10 push-ups every morning. It might feel insignificant, but here's the truth: small actions compound over time. Think about it. Every major achievement in history started with a single step. No one wakes up one day and suddenly becomes a master at something. They take consistent, small actions until those actions become habits. And habits, my friends, are the backbone of discipline. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, if I start small, how will I ever get to where I want to be? Let me assure you, starting small doesn't mean thinking small. It's about building a foundation. When you lay that first brick carefully, you're setting yourself up for success. And once you've laid the first one, the next becomes easier, and the next, and the next. Before you know it, you've built something remarkable. Starting small also removes excuses. You don't need a big budget, a fancy plan, or all the time in the world to take a small step. You just need the decision to act. Let me share something with you. One of the best pieces of advice I ever received was this: do what you can, where you are, with what you have. That advice stuck with me because it's so simple yet so powerful. It reminds us that progress isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about making the best of what we've got right now. And let me tell you something else. Starting small teaches you discipline in a way that's sustainable. It's like planting a seed. You water it, give it sunlight, and protect it from the wind. You don't expect it to grow into a mighty tree overnight. You let it grow gradually, steadily. And that's what small steps do. They help you grow your discipline muscle. When you start small, you also give yourself the chance to win. And winning, even in small ways, builds confidence. Let's say you commit to reading 1 page of a book each day. It doesn't sound like much, right? But after a week, you've read 7 pages. After a month, 30. And here's the magic: with every page you turn, you're proving to yourself that you can stick to something. That's the spark of discipline. It's those little victories that keep you going, that remind you, I can do this. Another thing about starting small is that it helps you develop consistency, and consistency beats intensity every single time. Anyone can put in a burst of effort for a day or two, but the real game changers are the ones who show up every day, even if it's just for a little while. Because consistency creates momentum, and momentum makes the hard things feel easier. You know, one of the challenges people face is wanting to see results instantly. We live in a world that's obsessed with quick fixes and overnight success. But let me tell you, true success is never instant. It's built brick by brick, step by step. When you start small, you're learning to trust the process. You're learning patience, and that patience will serve you well. Not just in building discipline, but in every area of your life. Starting small also helps you stay focused. When you take on too much at once, you're more likely to get overwhelmed and give up. But when you focus on one small step at a time, you're able to give it your full attention. And attention is a powerful thing. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Now, let me share a little story. There was a time in my life when I wanted to make big changes. I had all these grand ideas, but I was getting nowhere because I was trying to do everything at once. Then a mentor of mine said, "Jim, why don't you just pick one thing and start there?" So I did. I started small. I committed to reading 10 minutes a day. That simple habit not only improved my knowledge, but also taught me the power of showing up consistently. And guess what? That one small habit led to bigger changes over time. And you can do the same. Whatever it is you're working towards, whether it's improving your health, growing your career, or building better relationships, ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today? Then take it. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the right moment. Just take the step. Starting small isn't about lowering your expectations, it's about setting yourself up for success. It's about building the kind of discipline that lasts, the kind that carries you through the tough times and keeps you moving forward. And let me tell you, that kind of discipline is unstoppable. So my friends, as you go out into the world today, I want you to remember this: small steps lead to big results. Don't underestimate the power of starting small. Every time you take even the tiniest action towards your goal, you're building discipline. And discipline is what turns dreams into reality. Now go out there and take that first step. You've got this. Number 3, action over motivation. Most people believe they need to feel motivated before they can take action. They think, if I just wait until I'm inspired, I'll finally get started. But let me tell you something that can change your life. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for a bus that might never come. Discipline isn't built on motivation, it's built on action. Think about it. Motivation is like a spark. It's fleeting, it comes and goes. It might show up when you hear an inspiring story or watch a powerful video, but what happens when that feeling fades? Do you stop? Do you go back to old habits? You can't rely on motivation because it's not always there when you need it. Action, on the other hand, is something you can control. You can decide in this very moment to take a step forward no matter how you feel. Let's make this personal for a second. Think about a time when you didn't feel like doing something, but you did it anyway. Maybe you didn't feel like going to work, but you went. Maybe you didn't feel like cleaning the house, but you did it. And how did you feel afterward? Probably proud, accomplished, maybe even relieved. That's the power of action. It creates momentum. And that momentum, that's what carries you through the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Here's the thing: action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you take even the smallest step toward your goal, you prove to yourself that you can do it. That little step sparks a sense of accomplishment, and that feeling fuels your motivation to keep going. It's like lighting a fire. The action is the match that ignites the flame, and each step you take adds fuel to keep it burning. You don't need to wait for a wave of inspiration to start working on your dreams. You don't need to feel 100% ready to begin. The truth is, most people who achieve great things didn't feel ready when they started. They simply started. They took action even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was inconvenient. And that's the difference between people who succeed and those who don't. Let me share a little story with you. I once knew a man who wanted to write a book. He had all these ideas swirling in his head, but he kept telling himself, I'll start when I feel inspired. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and that book never got written. Then one day he decided to sit down and write for just 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes. He didn't wait for inspiration. He didn't wait for motivation. He just wrote. And you know what happened? That 5 minutes turned into 10, then 20, and before long he had written an entire chapter. That's the power of action. Now you might be thinking, but Jim, what if I fail? What if I take action and it doesn't work out? Let me tell you, this failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. Every step you take, whether it leads to a win or a lesson, is progress. Action, even imperfect action, moves you closer to your goals. When you take action, you're also rewiring your mind. You're telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who shows up. I'm the kind of person who takes responsibility for my future. And let me tell you, that shift in identity is powerful. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you become in the process. Another beautiful thing about action is that it builds resilience. Life is unpredictable, and there will be days when everything feels hard. But when you've trained yourself to take action, no matter how you feel, you develop the strength to keep going. You become unstoppable because you've proven to yourself that you don't need to rely on fleeting feelings to make progress. So how do you put this into practice? Start by focusing on what you can do right now. Don't get overwhelmed by the big picture. You don't need to climb the entire mountain today. You just need to take the first step. Maybe that means making one phone call, sending one email, or taking 5 minutes to plan your day. Whatever it is, do it now. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just start. And here's the magic: when you take that first step, you're not just moving closer to your goal. You're building a habit. You're creating a pattern of behavior that says, I take action, no matter what. Over time, that habit becomes second nature. It becomes who you are. Let me ask you this: what would your life look like if you stopped waiting for motivation and started taking action every single day? Imagine the progress you could make. Imagine the goals you could achieve. Imagine the confidence you could build. Now, I'm not saying it's always going to be easy. There will be days when you feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. But those are the days when action matters the most. Those are the days when showing up, even for just a few minutes, can make all the difference. Remember, every big accomplishment starts with a single step. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. And once you start, keep going. Keep taking action, even when it feels small, even when it feels insignificant. Because every step, no matter how small, is a step forward. So don't wait for motivation to find you. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Take control of your future by taking action today. You have everything you need within you to get started. And once you do, you'll realize that the power to achieve your goals has been in your hands all along. Let's get moving. You've got this. Number 4, the role of commitment. Commitment is the bridge between dreams and reality. It's the invisible force that turns goals into achievements, ideas into action, and wishes into results. Without it, even the best plans remain just that, plans. But when you commit fully to something, truly commit, you unleash a power within yourself that's unstoppable. Here's what I want you to understand: commitment is a decision. It's not a feeling. It's not something you wait for. It's something you choose. It's waking up every day and saying, this is what I've decided to do, and I'm going to see it through. It doesn't matter if it's hard. It doesn't matter if you feel tired, discouraged, or even scared, because commitment is about showing up no matter what. You see, there's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in something, you'll do it when it's convenient. You'll make an effort as long as it's easy, as long as the conditions are perfect. But the moment things get tough, the moment you hit a roadblock, interest fades. Commitment, though, that's a whole different game. When you're committed, you don't make excuses, you don't back down. You find a way forward no matter how many obstacles stand in your path. Now, here's the truth about commitment that most people don't realize. It's not about being perfect. It's not about getting it right every single time. It's about consistency. It's about the willingness to keep showing up day after day, even when it feels like progress is slow, even when it feels like the results are far away. Because let me tell you something, progress is rarely linear. Sometimes you'll take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But as long as you stay committed, you're still moving forward. I know what some of you might be thinking right now. Jim, how do I stay committed when life gets in the way? When things get tough? When I feel like giving up, let me share this with you. Commitment isn't about waiting until things are easy. It's about deciding that your goal is worth it even when things are hard. It's about reminding yourself every single day why you started in the first place. What's the vision you're working toward? What's the life you're trying to build? When you keep that vision in front of you, it becomes your anchor. It keeps you grounded when the winds of doubt try to knock you off course. Commitment also requires clarity. You need to be crystal clear about what you're committing to and why it matters. Vague goals lead to vague results. If you say, I want to get in shape, that's a nice idea, but it's not clear enough to inspire real commitment. Instead, say, I'm committed to working out 3 times a week because I want to feel strong and healthy for my family. That's specific. That's actionable. And when the reason behind your commitment is personal and meaningful, it's much easier to stay the course. Now, let's talk about the reality of commitment. There will be days when you don't feel like following through. Days when your mind says, skip it. It's just one day. It won't matter, but let me tell you, those are the most important days to stay committed. Why? Because every time you follow through on your commitment, even when it's hard, you're building trust with yourself. You're proving to yourself that you can keep your word, that you're the kind of person who follows through. And that's self-trust. That's priceless. It's the foundation of confidence. It's what allows you to set bigger goals and know you can achieve them because you've already proven to yourself that you can stick to your word. I want to share a little secret with you. Commitment isn't just about discipline, it's about love. Love for the life you're trying to create. Love for the person you're becoming in the process. When you truly care about something, when you're passionate about it, commitment becomes less about willpower and more about devotion. It becomes something you do not because you have to, but because you want to. Because it matters to you on a deep personal level. But let's not pretend it's always going to be easy. There will be moments of doubt, frustration, and even fear. That's part of the journey. The question is, how do you handle those moments? How do you stay committed when the road gets rough? Here's the answer: you focus on the process, not just the outcome. Too many people get discouraged because they're fixated on the end result. And when it feels far away, they lose motivation. But if you focus on the daily actions, on the small wins, you'll find joy and pride in the journey itself. And that keeps you moving forward. Another key to staying committed is surrounding yourself with the right people. Let me be blunt. If you're surrounded by people who constantly doubt you, who don't support your goals, who make excuses for themselves, it's going to be much harder for you to stay committed. You need to build a circle of people who inspire you, who challenge you to be better, who hold you accountable to your commitments. Because when you're in the company of committed people, their energy rubs off on you. Here's a simple but powerful truth: commitment is freedom. I know that might sound strange, but think about it. When you're truly committed to something, you eliminate the endless back and forth of indecision. You stop wasting energy wondering, should I do it or not? You've already decided. And that decision frees you to pour all your energy into taking action, into making progress. So let me ask you this: what are you willing to commit to? Not just casually, not just when it's convenient, but fully and wholeheartedly. What's the goal, the dream, the vision that's worth your unwavering commitment? Take a moment to think about it. Because the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of your commitments. And remember, this commitment isn't a one-time decision. It's a decision you make every single day. It's showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. It's choosing to believe in your potential, even when the results aren't immediate. It's the daily act of saying, I'm in this for the long haul, because this matters to me. You have the power to commit. You have the power to follow through. And when you do, you'll discover that commitment isn't just about achieving goals, it's about becoming the best version of yourself. So make the decision. Commit fully. And watch how your life transforms. You've got this. Let's make it happen. Number 5, embrace the value of routine. Let's talk about something incredibly powerful that often gets overlooked because of its simplicity: routine. Now, I know the word routine might not sound exciting at first. It might even feel boring or restrictive. But here's the truth: routine is one of the most liberating tools you'll ever use in your journey to success. It's not about limiting yourself, it's about creating a framework that allows you to thrive, grow, and achieve what truly matters to you. When we talk about routine, we're talking about structure. We're talking about building a foundation for your life that keeps you grounded, no matter what storms might come your way. Think about it: every successful person you admire, whether they're an entrepreneur, an artist, an athlete, or a leader, has a set of routines they stick to. These routines aren't just habits, they're commitments to themselves. They're a way of saying, this is who I am and this is how I choose to live my life. But let's start with why routines matter so much. You see, every single day, you wake up with a limited amount of energy and focus. That energy is like fuel, and how you use it determines the kind of day and ultimately the kind of life you'll have. If you spend your mornings deciding what to do, where to start, or how to get organized, you're already burning through that fuel. A well-crafted routine removes that guesswork. It allows you to wake up and hit the ground running because you already know what needs to be done. Now, here's where it gets even more powerful. Routines create momentum. Have you ever noticed how one small action can set the tone for your entire day? For example, let's say you start your morning with exercise. It doesn't have to be anything extreme: a walk, a stretch, maybe some light movement. That simple act signals to your mind and body, we're awake, we're energized, and we're ready to tackle what's next. And just like that, you've created momentum that carries into the rest of your day. But it's not just about mornings. Every part of your day can benefit from a routine. It's about identifying the times when you're most productive, most focused, or most creative, and building a structure that supports those moments. Maybe your best ideas come in the afternoon. Great. Use that time for brainstorming or deep work. Maybe you feel more social in the evenings. That's the perfect time for connecting with others, networking, or spending quality time with loved ones. The key is to align your routine with your natural rhythms so that you're working with yourself, not against yourself. One of the biggest misconceptions about routines is that they're rigid or unchangeable. But that couldn't be further from the truth. A good routine is flexible. It evolves with you as your goals, priorities, and circumstances change. Think of it like a blueprint. It gives you structure, but you can always adjust it as needed. The important thing is to have something to guide you, something that keeps you on track when life gets busy or chaotic. Let's talk about discipline for a moment, because this is where routines and discipline go hand in hand. Discipline isn't about willpower. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about creating an environment that makes success inevitable. And that's exactly what a routine does. It sets you up for success by eliminating distractions, reducing decision fatigue, and keeping you focused on what truly matters. I want to share something personal with you. There was a time in my life when I felt overwhelmed. I had big dreams, big goals, but I wasn't making the progress I wanted. And do you know why? Because I didn't have a routine. I was trying to do everything at once, chasing after too many things without a clear plan. It wasn't until I sat down and said, okay, what do I need to do every day to move closer to my goals, that things started to change. I started small, just a few simple actions each day. But those actions added up. Over time, they became habits. And those habits became the foundation for the life I have now. That's the beauty of a routine. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things consistently. It's about focusing on progress, not perfection. Maybe for you, that means dedicating 30 minutes a day to a skill you want to learn. Maybe it means setting aside time every evening to reflect on your day and plan for tomorrow. Whatever it is, start small. Build a routine that's realistic, that fits into your life, and that aligns with your goals. Because when you do, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish over time. Here's another thing I want you to understand: routines create stability. Life is unpredictable. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments when things feel out of control. But when you have a routine, you have something to anchor yourself to. You have a sense of normalcy, a sense of control, even when everything else feels uncertain. It's like having a safe harbor in the middle of a storm, and that stability is priceless. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Jim, I've tried routines before, and they never stick. If that's you, let me tell you this, it's okay. Building a routine takes time. It's a process of trial and error. You're not going to get it perfect on the first try, and that's okay. The key is to keep going. If something isn't working, tweak it. If you miss a day, start again tomorrow. The goal isn't perfection, the goal is consistency. One of the most important things you can do when building a routine is to celebrate your wins. Every time you follow through, no matter how small the action, take a moment to acknowledge it. Give yourself credit for showing up, because those small wins add up. They build confidence. They create a sense of momentum that keeps you moving forward. I want you to imagine for a moment what your life could look like with a solid routine. Picture yourself waking up each day with clarity, focus, and purpose. Imagine feeling productive, accomplished, and in control of your time. That's what a routine can do for you. It's not about restricting your life, it's about freeing yourself to live your life fully with intention and direction. So, my challenge to you is this: take a moment today to think about the routines in your life. Are they serving you? Are they helping you move closer to your goals? And if not, what can you do to change that? Start small. Start simple. But start. Because the routines you build today will shape the life you live tomorrow. Remember, success isn't about grand gestures or overnight transformations. It's about the small, consistent actions you take every single day. It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. It's about committing to the process and trusting that the results will come. So build a routine that reflects the life you want to create. Stick to it, and watch how your life transforms one day at a time. You've got this. Let's get to work. Number 6, how to handle distractions. No matter where we are in life, distractions, they're everywhere, aren't they? From the ping of a phone notification to the endless scroll of social media, from interruptions at work to the little voice in our head saying, take a break, you've done enough for now. Distractions are relentless, and they seem to grow louder and more persistent the moment we decide to focus on something important. So how do we handle them? How do we rise above the noise and stay locked in on what truly matters? That's what I want to explore with you today. Distractions are not just an external phenomenon, they're internal too. Have you ever sat down to work on something, only to find your mind wandering to things like what's for dinner, an argument you had last week, or even a sudden urge to clean your desk? That's your brain looking for an escape from discomfort. You see, staying focused on a task, especially one that's challenging, requires effort. It's not always comfortable. And when things get uncomfortable, our brain starts to look for easier, more immediate rewards. That's why understanding the nature of distractions is so important. It's not just about shutting out the world, it's about training your mind to stay the course. The first step to handling distractions is awareness. Most people think distractions just happen to them, like an unavoidable wave sweeping them away. But distractions don't just appear out of nowhere, they come from patterns, habits, and triggers. Maybe you've conditioned yourself to check your phone every 5 minutes because it's become a habit. Maybe you allow interruptions because you haven't set clear boundaries with the people around you. Or maybe you're distracted because deep down you're avoiding the task at hand. Whatever it is, you have to start by identifying the root cause. Pay attention to when and why you lose focus. Is it during a specific time of day? Is it tied to certain feelings, like boredom or stress? Once you know your triggers, you can start to address them. Let me tell you something powerful. Focus is a skill. It's not something you're born with, or without, it's something you develop. And like any skill, it takes practice. Think of it like going to the gym. When you first start lifting weights, you're not going to bench press 200 pounds right out of the gate. You start small, and you build your strength over time. The same is true for focus. You won't master it overnight, but with consistent effort, you'll get better and better at it. And the better you get, the easier it becomes to shut out distractions. One of the most effective ways to handle distractions is to create an environment that supports your focus. Look around you right now. What does your workspace look like? Is it cluttered or chaotic? Are there things within arm's reach that can pull you away from your task, like your phone, the TV remote, or an open tab on your browser? Your environment plays a huge role in your ability to focus. A clean, organized, and dedicated space signals to your brain, this is where we work. This is where we focus. Remove the temptations before you even sit down to begin. Turn off notifications, put your phone in another room, and close any unnecessary tabs or apps. Create a space that encourages productivity, not distraction. But let's not forget about the internal environment, your mind. Even if your workspace is perfect, you won't get much done if your mind is racing with worries, doubts, or unrelated thoughts. That's why it's so important to center yourself before diving into a task. Take a few deep breaths. Clear your mind. Remind yourself why this task matters. When you set an intention for your work, it becomes easier to stay focused because you're connected to your why, and your why is what gives you the strength to push through the urge to check your phone or procrastinate. Now, let's address one of the biggest myths about focus, the idea that you need to work for hours and hours without a break to be productive. That's not true, and in fact, it's counterproductive. Your brain can only sustain deep focus for so long before it starts to tire. That's why it's important to work in focused bursts, followed by short breaks. One of the most popular methods for this is the Pomodoro technique, where you work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. After 4 cycles, you take a longer break, like 15 or 30 minutes. This method works because it respects your brain's natural rhythms. It's like sprinting instead of trying to run a marathon at full speed. During those 25 minutes, you're fully locked in, knowing a break is just around the corner. And during your breaks, you can recharge without guilt because you've earned it. Another key to handling distractions is learning to say no, not just to other people, but to yourself. Let's face it, most distractions are self-inflicted. Nobody forces you to check social media or watch another episode of that show you love. You choose to do those things because they're easier than staying focused. But here's the truth: every time you say yes to a distraction, you're saying no to your goals. Think about that for a moment. When you choose to scroll through your phone instead of working on your dream, you're making a trade-off. The question is, are you okay with that trade-off? If you're not, then it's time to start saying no to distractions and yes to what really matters. Let me give you a practical tip that can help time blocking. Time blocking is a simple but powerful technique where you schedule specific blocks of time for focused work, and you treat those blocks as sacred. During that time, nothing else matters. You're not available for calls, texts, or random tasks. You're fully immersed in what you've set out to do. By committing to those blocks, you create a sense of urgency and purpose. And when you pair time blocking with a clear, realistic to-do list, you set yourself up for success. You know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. But what about the distractions you can't control, like noisy neighbors, unexpected calls, or other people demanding your attention? Here's where boundaries come into play. You have to communicate your needs clearly and firmly. If you're working from home and your family tends to interrupt you, Let them know when you'll be unavailable and why it's important. If your phone keeps ringing, use tools like Do Not Disturb mode or apps that block calls and notifications during work hours. Remember, you have a right to protect your time and focus. It's not selfish, it's necessary. Let's talk about resilience. No matter how much you prepare, distractions will happen. You might lose focus, get interrupted, or feel the pull of temptation. And that's okay. The goal isn't to be perfect, the goal is to recover quickly. When you notice yourself getting distracted, gently bring your attention back to the task at hand. Don't beat yourself up. Don't dwell on the mistake. Just refocus and keep going. Over time, you'll build the mental strength to bounce back faster and stay on track longer. Distractions are part of life, but they don't have to control your life. You have the power to manage them, to rise above them, and to stay focused on what truly matters. It's not about being superhuman. It's about being intentional. It's about making choices that align with your goals and values. So the next time you feel the pull of a distraction, ask yourself what matters more, this momentary temptation or the future I'm working toward. Choose wisely, and I promise you the results will speak for themselves. Keep going. You've got this. Let's do the work. Number 7, overcoming temptations and excuses. When was the last time you truly believed in yourself? Not in a surface level way, but in that deep, unshakable way where you know without a shadow of a doubt that you can achieve what you set out to do. It's not easy, is it? Life throws so much at us: doubt, fear, setbacks, and sometimes it feels like the world is working against you. But here's the truth: the greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't with the world, it's with yourself. And when you win that battle, when you conquer the doubts and fears within, you become unstoppable. Today, I want to remind you of just how powerful you are and why it's time to bet on yourself like never before. The thing is, we're often our own worst critics. We look at our dreams and immediately come up with reasons why they won't work. I'm not smart enough, I don't have enough experience, what if I fail? These thoughts feel real, don't they? But let me tell you something, those thoughts are not the truth. They're just stories you've been telling yourself, stories that have been shaped by past experiences, by what others have said to you, and by your fear of stepping outside your comfort zone. And the good news? You have the power to rewrite those stories. You get to decide what narrative you live by. So why not choose a story where you're the hero, where you overcome challenges, and where you achieve the things you once thought were impossible? Believing in yourself isn't about being arrogant or pretending to have all the answers. It's about recognizing your worth, your potential, and your ability to grow. It's about trusting that you have what it takes to figure things out, even if you don't have all the pieces right now. Think about it, every successful person you admire started somewhere. They didn't have it all figured out from day one. They made mistakes, they faced rejection, they doubted themselves at times. But what set them apart was their willingness to keep going. They chose to believe in their vision, even when it felt like no one else did. And if they could do it, why not you? One of the most powerful things you can do is to set a goal that excites you and scares you at the same time. You know the kind of goal I'm talking about, the one that feels just a little out of reach, the one that makes your heart race when you think about it. That's the goal you need to chase. Why? Because it forces you to grow. It pushes you to step outside your comfort zone and discover what you're truly capable of. And let me tell you, the moment you start moving toward that goal, something incredible happens. You begin to see yourself in a new light. You start to realize that you're stronger, smarter, and more resourceful than you ever gave yourself credit for. Of course, the journey won't be easy. There will be days when you question everything, days when you feel like giving up. But those are the moments that matter most. Those are the moments when you have a choice to let the doubt win or to rise above it. And here's the secret: every time you choose to keep going, even when it's hard, you build resilience, you build confidence. You prove to yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way. And that belief, that's what carries you forward. That's what allows you to turn dreams into reality. Now, let's talk about failure. I know it's a scary word, but let's reframe it. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of success. Every failure teaches you something valuable. It shows you what doesn't work, what needs to be adjusted, and where you need to grow. So don't fear failure. Embrace it. Learn from it. Let it be the fuel that drives you forward. Remember, every successful person you've ever heard of has failed more times than they can count. What made them successful wasn't their ability to avoid failure, it was their ability to learn from it and keep moving forward. And let's not forget the importance of celebrating your progress. It's so easy to get caught up in chasing the next goal, the next milestone, that you forget to acknowledge how far you've come. But every step forward, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. Every time you push through doubt, every time you try something new, every time you refuse to give up your winning, you're proving to yourself that you're capable of so much more than you thought. So take a moment to appreciate your journey. You've already accomplished more than you realize. Let me share something personal with you. There was a time in my life when I didn't believe in myself. I let fear hold me back. I played small because I was afraid of failing, of being judged, of not being enough. But then I realized something: life is too short to live that way. I didn't want to look back years from now and wonder what could have been. I didn't want to let fear dictate my choices. So I made a decision to bet on myself, to take risks, to believe in my potential even when it felt scary. And that decision changed everything. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And if I can do it, so can you. You have everything you need within you to create the life you want. You have the strength, the talent, the creativity, and the resilience to overcome any obstacle. But you have to believe it. You have to trust yourself, even when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. Because the truth is, the only limits that exist are the ones you place on yourself. And when you remove those limits, when you allow yourself to dream big and take bold action, there's nothing you can't achieve. So what's holding you back? What's the story you've been telling yourself about why you can't succeed? Whatever it is, it's time to let it go. It's time to rewrite that story, to step into your power, and to start living the life you were meant to live. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. Take that first step, no matter how small it may seem, and then take another and another. Before you know it, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. Remember, you are capable of greatness. You are worthy of success. And you are enough, just as you are. So go out there and chase your dreams with everything you've got. Believe in yourself, even when it feels hard, because the world needs what only you can offer. The world needs your unique gifts, your perspective, your voice. Don't hold back. Don't play small. Step into your greatness and show the world what you're made of. You've got this. Now go make it happen.